Welcome to the Bite Size Brilliance Podcast. I'm your host, April Darley, and today I have a question for you. Are you being psychologically manipulated? The answer is yes, if you were wondering, because that is the premise behind modern day marketing. Modern day marketers know that we make decisions primarily from our emotional brain. But when you work with me, you learn the bespoke brain system, which is a three brain system, which operates from three different levels of consciousness: your unconscious, subconscious, and conscious brain. So not only do you purchase based on emotions, you also purchase based on survival. And when you know the difference, when you know this is happening, it changes the way you look at the world if you can bring this to your conscious brain's attention. So let's dig into that a little bit. What inspired this episode today is because I recently tried out a new television show and it was called The Beast Games. It's over on Amazon if you're curious. And within 2 minutes of the show, I had to hit pause and I was so prompted to write about the manipulation that was going on in this show because it is insane. It's the most insane thing that I have seen in quite some time that uses a really hard hitting psychological manipulation of survival and emotion. And it is such a wild roller coaster ride that I stopped this multiple times. I think it took me almost 2 hours to watch this 1 hour episode because I would have to keep stopping. And I was writing social media posts about it. I was just putting it in this blog and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot even believe that they are triggering people this way. So I wrote a blog about it. It's over on my website, aprildarley.com. I also did a 4-part social media post about it over on Instagram and Facebook under Dr. April Darley. So that's Dr. April Darley if you want to go check that out. But just to give you a quick little recap, it wasn't about physical games. They played psychological games before they even began. And here's a little tip. If you have any kind of money blocks or money fears, money concerns, those are actually lodged in your survival brain, your unconscious, because that brain is concerned with food, shelter, a mate, a tribe. And that brain knows that in modern day society, money is how we get a lot of those things. It's how we pay food, it's how we pay our rent or mortgage. If you want to date someone, you're going to need to take them to dinner and like pay for that, right? So money really hits that brain super hard. And the brain, that piece, is responsible for your fight, flight, or freeze response. So when you have money fear, money concerns, or even if you see a large amount of money. So this game show had the host standing on top of $5 million. Dollars. It was a literal mountain of money. So that visual cue activates that survival brain that's like, oh, my precious, like I want that, right? And that was just the beginning. So knowing that you're psychologically manipulated consciously can help you circumvent the damage that is being done subconsciously or unconsciously on autopilot. So let me break this down a little bit for you. So, we all know about psychological manipulation. You know, you've probably read about or had a narcissist in your life. You may have been gaslit by someone. They make you doubt your own belief system. So, how do you combat that? How do you overrule when you think or feel you might be manipulated in some way? And the kind of downside to that is it tends to be very subtle. So, for example, pharmaceutical commercials, they generally have a jingle in there, right? I caught myself one day watching TV and this pharmaceutical commercial had repeated and often enough that a few days later, I was singing the jingle while making breakfast. And I'm like, oh no. But music hits that point in your brain. It's why a lot of people don't pay attention to the lyrics of what they're singing because the beat is so catchy. So, one thing you do have to be careful with is the intake you're consuming. And what I mean by that is, are the songs you're listening to, do they have a message that you agree with? If you were to take away the beat, just read the lyrics, is that something you want to be programming yourself for? Because if the answer is no, then you are being psychologically manipulated for that. If the TV show that you are watching has themes that go against your values, you are being manipulated to keep watching that. Just like this game show, it was a master class in manipulation. On the one hand, it kept you on the edge of your seat because you want to know what happens next because it was absolutely insane. But on the other hand, I really got triggered. It caused anxiety in me because I understood what was going on. And I understood what was happening to those people. And that activated my own value system. And I'm like, man, I hope they offered therapy to some of these people after this because they're playing on some of those survival fears. Because they did a couple of contested interviews, and some people are like, this is the last chance I have to pay my rent. Like, I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids if I don't win this $5 million prize. And that is not a place that you want to find yourself in, but some companies, some people will really prey on that for you. So let's talk about how to get around that. It's paying attention to what you're consuming, either in social media, music, movies, TV, is a big part of not going against your subconscious, your survival brain, and your media system, but also developing your own internal sense of identity or confidence. So you do want to know who you are and what you stand for so that when you are being offered evidence to that contrary, so if someone is attempting to gaslight you or blame you, because your own internal operating system is strong and well defined, you can go, nope, that may be what you think, but that's not true. That's not true for me. I don't have to live your version of what I know what my life is like. So it gives you that ability to push back. It gives you that ability to discern what is meant for you, what is you, and what is against you. So, number one, pay attention to what you're consuming. Number two, really work on your identity piece. What are you stand for? What's your values? What's important to you? How would you define yourself? How would you introduce yourself to someone who did not know you? What makes you you, and being really firm and strong on that? The third piece I would recommend for you is to pay attention to your body's natural danger signal. So, for me, when I was watching this show, I started to feel anxious. And that is a sign that your survival brain, which is responsible for fight, flight, freeze, is being activated because it perceives a threat to you. Now, that piece of the brain is an ancient brain, and it can't tell the difference between a real threat, like I'm a competitor in that competition, or there's a mugger in front of me with a knife, right? Or I'm just watching it on TV and I empathize. I feel bad for them. Your subconscious, unconscious can't tell the difference. So when you find yourself getting anxious out of the blue, that is a sign that something is happening in your environment, either your thoughts, something you're seeing, something you are being exposed to is activating the piece of you that is afraid. And knowing how your body naturally feels with and without anxiety, you get to use that as a compass of, is this for me? Is this helping me? Or is this hurting me, harming me, against me? So when you listen to the signals that your brain and body are giving you, you have a clear map on, do I do this? What do I feel about this person? Or, hey, this is situation or person is not for me and I need to leave this, right? Not out of fear, but out of, I know me, I trust me, and what I'm being exposed to is not the best for me. Okay. So those are some ways that you can tell you are being psychologically manipulated and how you can get out of that. So, just to recap, pay attention to the intake, the media that you're getting. Is what you're watching, reading, consuming, is it something that the best version of you would do? If not, change the channel, turn it off. The next one is to be really sure about your values, your identity, your internal operating system. And if you're not sure about that, this is what I help clients go through in the Bespoke Brain System. So you can book a complimentary consultation call at aprildarley.com to find out how we can increase your confidence, discover your strengths, your talents, your values, so you do have that firm operating system in place that you can easily reject what is not for you. And then the third piece is to learn how to listen to the signals that your brain and body are giving you. And we discussed that also in the Bespoke Brain System. So I hope this was helpful for you to be more consciously aware about what's going on in your environment day to day. So you do have the final say on what to accept or reject. And whatever you're allowing is going to continue. So think about what you want your experience in your precious life to be like. Do you want it to be filled with anxiety and doubt? Or do you want it to be strong, resilient, confident, and happy? Because it's all in your hands, my friend. But if you need some help, I am there for you. And until next week, I will see you then. Bye bye.